Tyreek was told by his head coach that he is overpaid. Is he? Stay tuned in the Two Versus Brother podcast. Pedro this weekend, the over Twitter or an X gave some airwaves about Tyreek Hill of what he said of his head coach, what he said in the last playoff game. So tell us, do you feel and agree with Mike McDaniel on what he said?
Look, you gotta do what you gotta do to get your players in the winning mood. If you remember that playoff game, it was a very lethargic feeling in that stadium. I know that it was a freezing in that stadium, but you need to put the fire in their bellies somehow. And I know to get to Mike McDaniel is a good head coach, and a way to do that is to let the guy know, hey, listen, we're paying you all this money. You have to do something. You have to be the person that gets us beyond this point because right now we're struggling. So it has to be you,
Against his former team, right?
of
Yeah, because
course.
he was playing against his former team, and he didn't step up. But again, Pedro, this proves my point. Do you still think that he is worth it? All this money?
Yeah. Look, let's put things in perspective, Alfredo. I think that it's very important that we do that. Before Tyreek came to the Miami Dolphins, what was Tua Tagovailoa? He was a good, at least for people put it out that he is a decent quarterback. Not good, decent quarterback. We didn't know if he had the tangibles. We didn't know what he was about. Once we had Tyreek Hill, we gave him a true number one threat on the boundary or anywhere really. We saw a different part of Tua Tagovailoa, and we saw what he is capable of doing. And I know that you guys hate when I do this and give comparisons between Tom Brady and Tua Tagovailoa, but you didn't see Tom Brady become Tom Brady, the guy that's throwing 50 touchdown passes in a
Pedro,
season.
you're still, you're leaving me crazy with that. You're still with that same old comparison about
Look,
Tua and Brady.
you have
Pedro,
to.
get to the point. Is Tyreek, is he worth it to get paid?
Of course he is. You need to pay somebody like Tyreek that is a consensus number one wide receiver, not just in the Miami Dolphins or on any team that he's on in the league.
I
Remember,
mean, we've done rankings on wide receivers, and we feel that
Mhm.
Tyreek, he is a good elite receiver, but he is not the top wide
No,
receiver.
he is not the top wide receiver in the NFL when you're going to fantasy football because that's what
No,
we.
no, no, not even fantasy football. Even in general, Pedro.
No,
You're
no.
giving this comparison and you're telling this, but let me tell you how it should be.
Go ahead, tell
Yes,
me.
he is overpaid. And again, this proves my theory of what I have always said. Tyreek, this is your chance, Dolphins. The draft is coming up. And this is the time to acquire some draft picks for him. And even the head coach, I acknowledge that Tyreek cost the Dolphins. And I'll tell you this, Tyreek, all this talk is cheap, man. Talk is cheap. It's time to step it up. Or the Dolphins proved to you already that they did not give you any extension, they didn't give you any extra money, and they stayed to what they had. So, Tyreek, I would tell you, is put up or shut up.
I don't know. Listen, I'm gonna stop you right there, and I'm gonna tell you something. Right now, tell me last time that the Dolphins had a receiver go for 1,799 yards,
It
and
doesn't matter. In the end of things, it doesn't mean anything.
well, of course we didn't. If every team says the same thing, it doesn't mean anything until you get a Super Bowl. Everybody is a loser
No,
at this
no, no,
point.
not only that. Even in the big games against Kansas City in the playoff, against his former team, returning to Arrowhead, he didn't do anything.
You talking about he didn't do anything, Alfredo? Dude,
His head coach said it. Actually, I think the head coach read my mind on what I was saying.
Mhm. Listen, Tyreek Hill had 62 yards and a touchdown in a freezing cold game. You
Okay.
five catches, 62 yards and a touchdown. He was the only touchdown. He was part of the only touchdown that the Dolphins did. That 26-7 victory by the Kansas City Chiefs was much more than just Tyreek Hill.
Okay.
Let's put that in perspective. He did what he needed to do. He is not a quarterback. He is not a, I don't know, maybe an edge rusher that could put the game on their back on the defensive side and make the quarterback pay.
Okay, so that proves my point. He doesn't need to get paid like a quarterback or like an edge rusher.
No, I agree with you there. But
So
when
he's overpaid. He's overpaid.
Not overpaid, because in his position, that's what they're paying wide receivers. Top wide receiver are getting paid that kind of money. Am I right or wrong? Would you? Okay, so you're telling me that you wouldn't pay a top number one consensus number one wide receiver that kind of money?
A consensus, maybe, but it has to be someone like Justin Jefferson, elite, that no matter who's the quarterback, he'll step up.
Dude, he had almost 1,800 yards last year.
Yeah. Even
1,500 yards every year.
Even I get that if they throw me the ball as much as they did to him, of course.
Alfredo, if they were to throw you the ball one time, I think that you would pass out in the back after the first tackle. Come on, but still, let's be real here. Tyreek Hill is getting paid the amount of money that he's getting paid because he is great. Greatness.
I'm not denying he ain't. I'm not denying he ain't. But when it came for the big moments against Kansas City, about any other, he didn't step up. So, all right. I know we never will agree on this, Pedro, but I think McDaniel's is either watching our show, hearing me out, agreeing with me, but he said exactly what I said that day. So